The cabin lights have that champagne tint airlines favor, soft enough to flatter, soft enough to lie. Amara stops at row 2, double-checks the placard, because habits survive even certainty. Asterisk asterisk 2. A. Asterisk asterisk. Window. She slides her carry-on into the overhead with a practiced tilt, the little penguin charm on the zipper bumping her wrist like a nod. We've drilled this. A man already sits in her seat, mid-50s. Crisp suit, salt and pepper hair that obeys orders. His elbow has annexed the armrest, laptop open to a landscape of rectangles. He doesn't look up. "Excuse me?" Amara says, voice level. "That's my seat." A glance her age, her blazer sleeve a half-inch long. The penguin. His smile is just wide enough to be called one. "I paid for first class." He says, "I'm not moving." The words land softly, like a door that clicks instead of slams. Amara lifts the asterisk asterisk boarding pass. Asterisk asterisk the corner. Warm where her thumb's been worrying it since the gate. Asterisk asterisk Jenkins Amara asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk 2. A. Asterisk asterisk unambiguous. "This is 2 amperes, she says, "and that's me." Across the aisle, a woman lowers a magazine without actually reading it. Silver hair, neat bun, eyes like a straight edge, measuring the angles of the moment. She doesn't speak. Not yet. The first-class curtain breathes, with each passenger brushing by. The aisle current splits around them and rejoins, like water around a rock. Phones hum. Bags thunk. Someone laughs 2 rows back at something their screen just promised. "Maybe you can find another seat," the man says, still smiling in that way that requires you to agree with him. Something more appropriate. Appropriate for whom? Amara asks. He meets her eyes as if surprised to find them steady. He blinks. It's a small sound in a loud room. A flight attendant slides into the pocket of space beside them, polished and precise. Asterisk asterisk Sandra. Asterisk asterisk. The nameplate says, citrus and coffee trail her like a second uniform. "Is there a problem?" "Not for me," the man says promptly, but the young lady seems confused. Amara inhales through her nose 4 beats in, quiet, then lets it go. "I'm in 2 amperes. He's in my seat. May I see your boarding passes?" Sandra's tone is frictionless. The day has taught her how to turn edges into arcs. Amara holds hers first. Asterisk asterisk 2 amperes. Asterisk asterisk under her name. Sandra checks. Nods. The man produces his from a leather folio after an extra second, the kind of delay that believes itself meaningful. Sandra scans with a handheld. 1 beep, then another, somewhere aft. A bin slams, and a baby declares something principled. "Mr. Blackwell." "Blackwell," Sandra says. "You're assigned to 12C, Economy Plus." The term is soft and devastating. Heads tilt in the social distance first class allows. "That's a mistake," Mr. Blackwell replies, jaw tight. "I always book 2 amperes on this route." "I understand," Sandra says, even because that's her job. "Today it shows 12C. I can monitor for first-class no-shows and move you if something opens." He stares at the little block letters as if they've betrayed him. Then he looks back at Amara, at the penguin, at her hands, small, but still not leaving. "Be reasonable," he tells Sandra, eyes on Amara. "She's a child. She doesn't need the workspace." So Sandra says, "Miss Jenkins has the confirmed seat." Silence folds over the row with tidy corners. Earbud guy pretends to be deep in a podcast about not being here. The silver-haired woman keeps herself exactly still, which paradoxically makes her the most visible person in the cabin. The curtain parts behind Amara. Marcus appears. Economy wristband. On his wrist, like a line he's willing to cross. He stops a step shy, giving his daughter the decency of her own voice. "You okay?" "Sparrow. I'm fine." Amara says, code for asterisk asterisk. "I'm not leaving asterisk asterisk." Marcus nods to Sandra. "We purchased 2 weeks ago. Her name is on it." His tone is calm in a way that takes training. It keeps the room from picking a fight. It can't win. Sandra's eyes say she knows. Her mouth says, "If you'll take 12C for now, Mr. Blackwell, I'll keep an eye on upgrades." She offers the nearest ladder down. Mr. Blackwell looks at the curtain, the dividing fabric that manufactures stories about belonging. He looks at Marcus, decides that man won't be baited. He looks at Amara and finds no apology there. The silver-haired woman finally speaks, voice cool as tile. "You may have my aisle," she says to Mr. Blackwell, already unbuckling. "I prefer the window." She turns to Amara. "Keep your view." Mr. Blackwell blinks at the gift. "That's very kind. It's practical," she replies, eyes briefly sharpening as they pass over him. "Things work better where they belong." Sandra recalculates the flowchart in her head and decides solved is good enough. If that works for everyone, it works, the woman says. "Elizabeth." She sets her magazine in the seatback with the poise of someone who's had practice setting things where they'll be found later. Mr. Blackwell stands, gathers his laptop, his certainty, and most of his annoyance for a clean second. The aisle is empty, and overhead light spills uninterrupted across the armrest. Amara steps in and sits. She smooths the armrest once, the way you pet a nervous dog. She slides the asterisk asterisk boarding pass asterisk asterisk into the tablet sleeve, the corner still warm from her grip. "Thank you," she tells Elizabeth. "Windows are for truth," Elizabeth says, settling across the aisle. "Aisles are for decisions." It sounds like a joke, but isn't quite. Amara's mouth tips anyway. Mr. Blackwell drops into Elizabeth's vacated aisle and opens his laptop with the same economy of motion he denies others. He types in tight, expensive keystrokes. A little muscle jumps near his jaw. "Drinks before departure?" Sandra asks. Back inside protocol. "Water, please," Amara says. "Coffee." Mr. Blackwell adds, "Hot, of course," Sandra says. Her smile clicks back into regulation. Marcus lingers a breath longer. "Call button if you need me," he says to Amara. "I will." He squeezes her shoulder and retreats through the curtain. It swings, breathes, rests, lines redrawn. The cabin resumes choreography. Buckles, finding tongues, the muted rattle of a galley cart, the low-density murmur that sounds like air itself talking. A chime pings from somewhere aft. A younger attendant moves down the overheads, pressing latches, the rhythm of practiced fingertips. Amara eases her shoulders down from her ears. She's sat in conference chairs with legs too short for her feet and answered questions phrased as traps. She knows this game. Still, her hand drifts to the tablet sleeve, fingers feeling the asterisk, 2 amperes, asterisk, through plastic. As if the ink could transfer faith, Elizabeth watches the runway with the attention people give to things they respect. Her hands rest on her book, unopened. A ring on her right hand catches the light only when it wants to. Mr. Blackwell glances at Amara's open notebook, the neat schematic of a haptic grid, pencil notations like whispered instructions, Curiosity wins by a point. Haptics. He asks, like someone trying not to make conversation and failing. She turns her head. Yes. For what? Accessibility, she says, offering one word and no apology. For students who don't see what screens assume they see, he huffs a breath that can't decide if it's a laugh. First class solving first principle. That's new. Better windows, she says, and lets that be the joke. It lands cleaner than he deserves. The PA tone rolls through, low and assured. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain says, voice sanded smooth by time at altitude. Welcome aboard. We expect a 3-hour flight with light chop on climb out. Amara's fingers press the asterisk boarding pass. Asterisk again through the sleeve. The plane pushes back. The cabin lights soften a fraction stagecraft. Outside, a fuel truck trundles off, cheerful in its utility. The wing flexes like someone rolling their shoulders before a run. Safety demo. Sandra demonstrates the mask drop with the same grace she brings to pouring coffee. Elizabeth actually watches, which marks her as unusual. Mr. Blackwell does not. They hold short. Engines spool. A vibration that thrums in armrests and ribs. The cabin hushes in that involuntary way. People hush when speed is about to happen. First time in 2 amperes. Mr. Blackwell tries again, like a man poking a machine to see if it's on. First time today, Amara says. He smirks, despite himself. The tiniest detente forms and floats. Untrusted. Flight attendants, please be seated for takeoff. Seatbelts click in a polite cascade. The thrust comes on clean. The terminal slides backward. Detroit unknots into rectangles. The river flashes like a strip of foil. The nose tips up. The earth lets go. A shiver moves through the fuselage mild chop. The sky clearing its throat. The seatbelt chime dings again. One bright syllable. B. Dot. Amara's knuckles tighten on the armrest before she tells them not to. Elizabeth glances over, eyes softening by a degree. Mr. Blackwell presses his laptop down with a palm and pretends he wasn't about to white-knuckle. They pierce a thin cloud, and the light turns harder, honest. The city becomes a toy that no one asked permission to shrink for a beat that feels like a held breath. Everything steadies. Engine note, wing whisper, the soft suss of air in that held space, the asterisk boarding pass. Asterisk rests under Amara's hand like a small square heartbeat. The interphone near the galley clicks, a sound only people who fly too much hear. Sandra steps to the forward bulkhead, listening. The wire of attention runs invisible from cockpit door to her tidy bun, to Elizabeth's unread page, to the crease at the corner of Mr. Blackwell's mouth. Amara feels it without knowing why. Sandra looks toward row 2 and gives Amara the smallest question with her eyebrows. You good? Asterisk. Amara answers with a single nod. The wire hums anyway. Mr. Blackwell clears his throat. You know, he says lightly, first class is really just turbulence with better napkins. Better windows, Amara repeats, and this time even Sandra's mouth almost smiles. Engines bear them west. The light on asterisk 2 amperes warms by a shade. The curtain behind them lifts in a breath and settles. No one in row 2 knows yet how much they've asked of the day, or how the day intends to answer. Amara keeps her hand on the plastic sleeve, feeling the print through it as if reading Braille. She watches the small round world outside the glass and measures her breath to the climb 4 in I-2. Hold. 4 out while somewhere forward a door stays closed and a phone light winks once. like a secret practicing its first word. The alarm doesn't ring so much as breathe two notes, soft and apologetic. Amara's eyes are already open. She lies very still beneath the weight of the duvet, watching the square of winter gray on her ceiling sharpen toward morning. The house holds its night sounds: radiator tick, old wood, exhaling like a choir that refuses to dismiss. Her room is a collage of ages, stuffed animals staged on the window seat like a jury, NASA pajamas with stars going matte where the cotton has memorized her, a corkboard crowded with ribbons and index cards, and in the corner, the machine 3 monitors quiet right now, a small forest of sticky flags bristling from a notebook, the tower's status light breathing. She rolls out of bed and pads to the desk. The monitors wake, blue snow turning into dashboards. Asterisk, asterisk, dreamscape. Asterisk, asterisk, daily active users. Cohort retention. Anonymized heat maps, little constellations of attention. She tucks her hair behind one ear and scrolls the overnight metrics. South Africa, trending up after the modular story packs. São Paulo steady. Nagpur's latency hiccup resolved. Thank you. Night ops. Her mouth tilts. The kind of smile that knows what it cost. Big day. Marcus says from the doorway, voice still in robe and slippers register. 2 mugs. Steam like small ghosts. The penguin on her bed stares at him, judgmental and forgiving in equal measure. She swivels, pushes off with the toe of one foot. You called me Sparrow when I weighed 6 pounds. You still weigh 6 pounds on approach, he says, handing her the hot chocolate. I am the FAA of nicknames. I have charts. She wraps both hands around the mug and takes the first careful sip. Cinnamon, just enough to fool the nerves. He sits on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping them toward each other. They're old school, she says, the words finding shape as they leave. They expect the thing they've seen before. They expect a PowerPoint that arrives wearing a tie, he says, and leaves them with nothing but adjectives. He taps the rim of his mug. What they're getting is a system. She watches the steam flatten and rise again. They expect someone who isn't me. What they need, he says, is exactly you. He lets silence do some of the work. We don't go to prove. We go because they need what you built. Amara nods like she's copying a formula she believes. She sets the mug down, drags the rolling chair close to the bed, and opens her notebook. The first page is a checklist, written like a poem, asterisk, deck V7. 3 final, demo DB scrubbed, latency note Nagpur, asterisk, accessibility module, dyslexia overlay, asterisk, global access initiative, cost model, redundancy, USB X3 plus cloud worm, investor FAQ localization, teacher training, offline mode, flight docs ID, letter of consent, guardianship note, asterisk, 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 2 amperes, asterisk, asterisk, printout, just in case someone can't find it. Marcus reads, without asking to. You added the worm after Mumbai. She says, never again. He stands, crosses to the desk, and unzips the slim pouch that holds a asterisk, asterisk, ceremony, asterisk, asterisk, 2 matte black USB drives in anti-static sleeves, and 1 bright red thumb drive that looks unserious and is not. He palms them like coins. Distribution, he says. Breast pocket, she says. Carry-on side pocket. And you carry the red one because red is festive, he says. Because red is bait, she says. And he grins despite the morning. She turns back to the screens and opens the deck, moving through the slides with the quiet authority of someone who has thought each transition through until it stopped squeaking. Problems live on white background. Solutions arrive with color. The dyslexia overlay demo is tucked behind a button no one will anticipate. The cost model is brutal without being cruel. The final slide carries no fireworks, just a line, asterisk, asterisk. Access should not be an outlier. Marcus sips and watches. He sees the microtells he knows, the double tuck of hair, the pencil aligned to the notebook's edge, the way her mouth presses flat when she hits the slide. She's afraid they'll misunderstand. They're going to ask about content safety. He says, I know. And about offline mode for unreliable networks. I know. And about how an 11-year-old runs a company. She looks up, eyes steady. I don't. I lead a company. Zoe runs operations. You keep us boring. Boring wins, he says, because some truths deserve to be said where ears can hear them. He leaves her with the deck and returns 6 minutes later with the garment bag. She steps into the bathroom to change. When she returns, the blazer fits her shoulders like a thought she's finally grown into. The sleeves still need the tailor by a whisper. She leaves the whisper. The stitched penguin on her backpack feels young. She keeps him anyway and clips the charm inside the pocket so he's present, not public. Buttons, Marcus asks. Two closed. One open when seated. She says, shoes. Shined, she says, a little dry. I used the cloth you like. I like that cloth because it obeys laws. He says, unlike your hair. She's already smoothing it behind her ear again. He gives her a comb, and she gives him the world's smallest eye roll, which he pockets for later. Downstairs. The kitchen is a checklist too. The counter holds a neat stack. Passports. Letter from counsel regarding travel. Insurance card. Itinerary with UTC times in the margin because time zones lie when you let them. She checks each item with a pen that clicks with satisfying resistance. The pen itself is a habit. No screens for this part. Pens leave grooves. Grooves make evidence. They load the car. The cold bites with good teeth. The sun is a rumor on the far side of houses. The street has that early quiet trash lids already down. Pork lights still up. Marcus drives. The heater clears the windshield in a slow, diagonal wipe. That's fun to watch if you're not late. They are not late. The radio murmurs headlines that most days would matter more. Amara thumbs through the investor frequently asked questions. Her thumb stops on a line. Local partners decide success. Asterisk, asterisk. She breathes once. In 4. Hold 4. Out 4. The rhythm polishes edges. She can't reach any other way. I was thinking, Marcus says, eyes on the road. After the meeting, if we have energy, we could find that food truck by the Embarcadero, the one with the embarrassing name. She doesn't look up. The bow who shall not be named, that's the one. They close at 3. She's already opened the app in her head that knows this. But the pier vendors stay open till 7. She pauses. Assuming we're done by then. Assuming the world behaves, he says, as if that were a choice people get to vote on. At the airport, the glass doors exhale warm air and muted competence. The digital boards whisper their lists. They move through security, the way people who practice move through anything efficiently. Without performing their efficiency, a TSA officer glances at Marcus. At Amara's passport. At the letter of consent, there's a brief, practiced smile. You like space? He asks, nodding to her NASA pajama cuff peeking. Très russe. From under the hem of her pants where she forgot to turn it once. Very much, she says. Me too, he says, stamps the thought, and passes them through. They make their way to the concourse. Detroit morning looks like chrome and coffee cup. Business travelers hammer at keyboards like they're forging knives. Families deploy snacks, as if provisioning for C. A boy on the floor makes a racetrack out of gate chairs. Somewhere, a barista calls a latte by a name that does not belong to coffee or people. They sit near a window where the wing of a plane points at a cloud like an accusation. Marcus calls the car service in San Francisco to reconfirm pickup. Yes. Child seat. No. She'll refuse it. He listens, smiles. Yes, bring it anyway. He hangs up and checks his watch, as if it has a personality he's trying to keep on schedule. Amara opens the deck one more time and applies the small adjustments that keep the universe from fraying. Changes a verb to a noun. Verbs promise too much. Lifts an axis label by 2 pixels because it scraped the line beneath, deletes a parenthesis she won't need. She writes asterisk, asterisk, 2 amperes, asterisk, asterisk, in the corner of a sticky and circles it, not because she'll forget the seat, but because seats get forgotten for you if you don't defend them with paper. Zoe's text arrives. Board approves travel coverage. Oakland Council on standby. Breathe. Amara types back a penguin emoji, a rocket, a folder. Zoe likes when the language is pictograms. It makes the world feel older and newer at once. We should eat, Marcus says. He returns with 2 breakfast sandwiches that meet the minimum sandwich standard: warm, portable, predictable, and a second hot chocolate, because he's the kind of father who pretends not to know he's doing a theme. Don't overcarb, she says, and takes a bite. We need you fast. He says, fast minds burn sugar. It's science. It's the kind of science you used when you told me vegetables are tiny trees. She says, they are. He says, and you were a giant. A boarding announcement garbles for someone else's city. Amara packs her things with the focus of a person cleaning her desk at a lab she built herself. The asterisk asterisk USB asterisk asterisk drives sit where they're supposed to sit. The asterisk asterisk boarding pass asterisk asterisk printout is tucked with documents that can speak when she won't. The penguin charm is hidden but tactically available. Marcus watches her zip the backpack and feels the small ache that always arrives when she becomes taller in a way inches can't measure. You know you don't have to be perfect. He says, I know, she says, which is not the same as believing. She looks up, but I do have to be right. He nods. Once. It's not assent so much as accompaniment. They walk to the gate early enough to be early without being conspicuous. The agent behind the counter is new enough to enjoy the part where she makes things work. Amara places her documents on the counter like offerings. The agent scans, reads, blinks at the age, recovers, smiles. Welcome, Miss Jenkins, she says, and means it. They sit again, just for a moment. In the lull that lives after preparation and before commitment, Amara watches Tug's nose aircraft into choreography. She sees patterns most people call coincidence. 3 yellow vests moving as if to a metronome. A fuel truck pausing at an invisible line. A set of cones in a shape that wants to be a triangle but obeys the asphalt instead. Question, Marcus says, as if he hasn't been rehearsing it in his head the whole drive. Why you? She doesn't pretend not to know what he means. Because I solved the right problem at the right time with the right people, she says. Then, after a breath, and because I was allowed to try long enough to fail right, he laughs. One note, dry, he says, borderline parched. Hydrate, she says, handing him his own water. The gate chime pings. A line forms with that complicated politeness of people who believe in order and loopholes equally. Marcus stands, heaves his backpack, and loosens his shoulders like a man who knows his job is not to be impressive. She stands too, and for a second places her palm on the glass, on the cold, on the tiny view of sky between jet bridge and fuselage. It's a quiet beat that belongs to no one but her. "Ready, Sparrow?" he asks. She doesn't say yes. She nods. Once sharp, the nod of a pilot acknowledging clearance. She tucks the *** boarding pass ** back into its sleeve. The penguin charm taps her wrist when she hoists the strap. Like a friend who doesn't need to be introduced, they step into the line and let it carry them forward, past the beep and the smile and the mouth of the jet bridge, where warm air changes to cool, and the smell changes from coffee to something that wants to be sky. The carpet quiets their steps. The metal handrails remember 1,000 hands. The light at the end is the kind that doesn't apologize. Boarding compresses into its last stubborn inches, the sort of late-minute choreography where every bag is an argument and every overhead bin a verdict. The aisle keeps pausing at row 2, then unsticking, like a zipper learning patience. Nobody says much, which is how first class says everything. Sandra works the forward galley, the way a conductor works a downbeat. Precise, gracious, uninterested in applause. She rechecks latches, pivots on the ball of her foot, and resets a napkin that has drifted a degree off square. Procedure is mercy when tempers want sport. Amara sits with her back square, shoulders released by intent rather than ease. The window offers her the wing in profile, skin taut and waiting. The ** boarding pass * sleeps in the tablet sleeve under her palm. A cool rectangle, pressing proof into plastic. She times her breath to the ground crew's gestures. Out on the ramp, 2 yellow vests moving in mirrored lines. Then stillness, then mirrored lines again. Systems inside systems. Across the aisle, Elizabeth rebuckles into her new row, with the unshowy efficiency of someone who has learned to enter rooms mostly as a question. She checks her belt with a fingertip tap, confirms her bag's underseat position by feel rather than sight, then lifts her gaze and holds it neutrally on the cabin, the way some people hold them on paintings long enough to be changed, not long enough to be caught trying. Mr. Blackwell has arranged himself in the aisle seat, 2 over, with the air of a man who would prefer a different world, and is prepared to take it out on this one. He types with speed that mistakes itself for competence. The set of his mouth suggests the laptop is an accomplice. His eyes keep slicing sideways, finding a penguin charm tucked into a pocket, a sleeve a half-inch too long, a calm he didn't expect. A young attendant, a man this time, badge reading ** Michael ** comes forward to confer in the neutral dialect of aviation, all short clauses and fact-shaped words. Sandra listens without a flicker, nods at intervals that signal receipt rather than agreement, then tips her chin toward row, 2 inches emotion so faint it could be a thought. Michael takes the cue and steps into the aisle. "Once we push," he tells Mr. Blackwell in a voice designed to be ignored only by people who obey it, "there'll be no movement until 10,000 feet. If you need anything before then, now's best. I need a real seat," Mr. Blackwell says, glancing at Amara as if she might apologize on behalf of physics. "We're full up front," Michael replies. "I can offer you an extra beverage coupon." A brief silence, followed by the softest snort from somewhere behind a paperback. Elizabeth's eyes do not move, which somehow makes the moment louder. Marcus appears just long enough at the curtain to be seen only by the person who needs to see him. He doesn't speak. He just checks the lay of the air around his daughter, the posture, the hand on the sleeve, the tiny tail at the corner of her mouth, and lets his presence be the answer to the question the room hasn't admitted to asking. Cabin secure, Sandra says into the interphone, thumb firm on the push to talk. The chime that answers isn't music so much as an agreement between strangers. The first-class curtain breathes once and steadies. The door seals. The light over the exit signs glows. With that institutional confidence only exit signs and older libraries have, the safety demo is an act of faith performed by people who actually believe in it. Michael demonstrates the seatbelt with a click that wants to be immoral. Sandra produces the oxygen mask with the eye of someone who has watched it drop for real. A few heads turn out of responsibility. A few turn out of fear. Elizabeth watches out of respect. Amara counts 4 in, hold, 4 out, and makes herself watch. 2. As the pushback tractor finds its angle, a whisper ripple moves through row 2. Airbud guy, failing at pretending to be underwater, mutters to no one, "Can't believe they tried to bump a kid." The man in 2D says, "It's not about age. It's about asterisk tickets, asterisk," with the kind of emphasis that thinks it's philosophical. A woman swaps her tote for a smaller tote, as if reducing volume could reduce complicity. Mr. Blackwell's laptop glow flickers, then steadies. He says to no one, "I have a time-sensitive meeting," which is a sentence designed to locate sympathy, and comes back with a handkerchief from his own pocket. Elizabeth looks up, and for the first time her eyes stay on Mr. Blackwell long enough to be a sentence. "This plane contains more than one," she says. The smile she doesn't add is the most articulate part. He blinks, caught between the instinct to escalate and the equally strong instinct to preserve a brand. He chooses the brand, pinches his lips back into something that approximates polite, and resumes typing with the vigor of a man attempting to audition for the noise. Amara slides a small notebook from the seat pocket paper. Not pixels and sketches, 3 boxes in a row. Boarding pushback taxi. Under asterisk, taxi, asterisk. She writes a single bullet. Asterisk. If asked, say less. Asterisk. She taps the page twice. With the pencil's eraser, the graphite dot it leaves looks like a star. None of the apps have named yet. Taxi begins slow and self-conscious. A city bus among giants. They pause at the crossing. A ground vehicle in orange livery glides past with the dignified grace of a creature that knows its purpose. The wing flexes once like someone rolling their shoulders before a speech. A boy 2 rows back presses his face to the window and says, "We're moving." As if he invented motion, the captain's voice returns. Professionally personal. "Folks, we've got a short taxi and expect a quick climb out. Light bumps on departure. Nothing to write home about." The last clause carries the practiced humor of pilots and oncologists. Marcus feels the sentence arrive in economy and watches it travel word by word, row by row like weather. He recognizes the telltale signals: Flight Attendant A's hand flattening on the galley counter, Flight Attendant B's foot settling more deeply into a stance. He tilts his paper back enough to see the top of a blazer in row 2, and then returns it to its original angle because seeing isn't the same as supervising. Michael pauses by Amara, as if to adjust the invisible. "If you need ginger ale," he says, "ask before we lock the carts." The sentence is structurally about beverages and functionally about permission. "Thank you," she says. It lands as the word it is, and as the acknowledgement beneath it, the aisle clears itself with the last pointless restowings. A man in 1D, who looks like he owns a boat that owns him back, requests a Bloody Mary for the lycopene. Sandra's eyebrow does a mathematically tiny thing that could be graphed and repeats. After 10,000, 1D says, of course, with grand compliance, and returns to teaching his cufflinks not to be nervous. Engines spool at the hold short line. A vibration felt particularly beneath the feet of people with honest shoes. The cabin acquires that attentive hush cities get before parades and storms. Mr. Blackwell breaks it. Of course, you know, he says to the air around him. In the long run, seat assignments are fungible. Elizabeth turns a page. She hasn't been reading, only to people who always get theirs back. He opens his mouth, then closes it. A man executing a full stop on an incline. He glances at Amara. For the first time, what he sees rearranges itself for him. Not pinguin, not sleeve. Grid of haptic nodes. Margin notes in a hand that doesn't waste loops. A posture no one taught but practice. You working on something tactile? He asks, and even the sentence tries not to sound like a question. A thing for people who need different doors into the same room, she says without looking fully at him. For a heartbeat. Mr. Blackwell has the decency to be quiet. Flight attendants, please be seated for takeoff. The call is the same in every city and still sounds like a choice. Belts chirp. Bags stop arguing. The cabin leans into the idea of ascent. Amara anchors her palm lightly on the tablet sleeve. The asterisk boarding pass. Asterisk. Registering through the film like a small coin. She has exactly 3 routines for this moment. Breath. Window. Count. She chooses window. The runway appears as a long answer. Near the edge of her view, a cardinal picks at a strip of grass, as if the world is not about to turn loud. Acceleration arrives all at once, and then in increments, the floor hums into the bones. The terminal begins to slide, then smear, then vanish. The nose lifts, Earth tilts away, and the tired geometry of the morning resolves into beautiful math. Light chop on departure. A small tremor like a thought someone decided not to say. The belt sign sings once, bright and brief. A cup in row, one whispers against its saucer. The ceiling lights are the steady kind that refuse to enter into bargains. Amara's fingers tense, then release, releasing more than just fingers. Ginger elle after 10. Michael mouths, passing in the jump seat and catching her eye. She nods, finishes a count, starts another. The plane slips through a thin cloud and surfaces into the cleaner blue. The city below shrinks into a toy you're allowed to touch with your eyes. A soft sound, almost swallowed, escapes Mr. Blackwell, a human noise acknowledging physics. He notices himself making it, and in the noticing becomes human. Briefly, better windows, he says, half to the oval, half to himself. Better views. Elizabeth amends, and returns her attention to the place where sky meets idea. They level for a breath, long enough for lungs to remember cooperation. The interphone near the forward galley clicks in a way only flight attendants and people who collect clocks can hear. Sandralistens face, doing the particular stillness of receiving instructions you will obey, and also evaluate later. She answers with 3 words and a nod that ought to be copyrighted. When she hangs up, her gaze passes through row 2 and lands on the curtain as if considering thread count. Mr. Blackwell pulls his phone from a pocket, thinks better of it, returns it halfway, then pretends he was just adjusting the pocket. He is not the only person to make that motion in the next 60 seconds. The cabin's oxygen feels 1% thinner, which is ridiculous and true. Amara doesn't feel the thinness yet. What she feels is the clean line of the climb smoothing under the wing and an odd steadiness in her chest. She turns a page in the notebook and draws a tiny rectangle in the corner, then shades it. It could be a window or a screen or the shape of a room where the door isn't where people expect it. She writes one word under it. Asterisk, asterisk, access, asterisk, asterisk. The seatbelt sign stays on. The engines hold a note that tastes like nickel in the back of the mouth. A soft ping from behind them signals someone has decided to request a bathroom that will be denied. Sandra points 2 fingers at the sign without looking, and the person who pinged remembers they were raised to wait. Marcus, 3 rows back of the curtain, watches a thin diagonal of sunlight creep across his paperback and thinks of all the diagonals he stood on: office hallways, school corridors, courtroom benches, places where you angle yourself to be seen just enough and not too much. He feels the plane's slight lateral and reads it as a sentence about intention rather than wind. He closes the book on his finger and takes a slow, even breath he doesn't need right now but might later. The chime up front sounds again, softer this time, as if clearing its throat. Michael unclips and stands when allowed, steps forward to where Sandra is, and speaks in the register of people who carry trays and also secrets. She nods, writes something on a small pad with a felt-tip pen, whose line weight is absurdly satisfying, and looks once at the cockpit door, not to question it, but to acknowledge it exists. 10,000, the captain says over the PA, cheerful in the way that suggests he sees storms as colleagues, not enemies. We'll turn off the seatbelt sign soon as we're through a little ripple. The ripple arrives as a polite demonstration rather than a thesis. A shiver, a settle, a minor tap on the shoulder of the airframe. Amara counts it as if it were something to be counted. Mr. Blackwell presses his laptop down with 2 fingers, a gesture that doesn't help, and does. Ginga ele? Michael asks, already holding one, the can's curve catching the light like a small moon. Amara nods, accepts it, and the cold transfers to her palm with enough conviction to reset the day by a degree. Elizabeth declines refreshment with a small wave, then changes her mind and asks for water. When it arrives, she drinks half in one measured swallow, sets the cup down, and looks out at a sky that is not yet telling the truth about itself. The seatbelt sign dings again and stays on. A second later, so close, it feels personal. The interphone buzzes, and Sandra picks up. If there's a word for the way her eyes sharpen without narrowing, it is the kind of word manuals avoid. She nods once, twice, hangs up. Her smile, when she turns toward row 2, is the same one she's used all morning, and it accomplishes the same things. Ladies and gentlemen, she says, voice carrying easily without force, we'll have you on your way shortly. For now, please remain seated with your belts fastened. It's a sentence that is both ordinary and not. The way some weather looks like weather, until it doesn't. A hush folds over the row again. Mr. Blackwell attempts a chuckle that dies politely. Elizabeth places one finger on the edge of her book, as if to keep it from sliding off the table of the day. Amara glances at the window and finds the wing, steady as a promise. She fits her palm back over the asterisk boarding pass. Asterisk. Through the sleeve. A habit, a ritual, a square of paper reminding plastic, reminding skin, reminding spine. She breathes 4 in, holds, and prepares herself for the part of the sky that does not care who anyone is. The first bump is hardly a bump. More a reminder in the ribs that air is not a surface, but a mood. The second arrives with intent, a low shoulder into the fuselage that makes glasses whisper in the galley, and pens remember gravity. The seatbelt sign stays lit. The aisle becomes theory. Amara counts, because numbers don't bargain. 4 in. Hold. 4 out. The can of ginger ale leaves a circle of cold on her palm. Outside, the wing writes a long, patient line across a sky that can't decide on a single blue. A third jolt leans the cabin left and then gives it back. Somewhere aft, a laugh turns into a swallow. Sandra's voice comes over the PA, composed enough to borrow. Ladies and gentlemen, we've found a little chop on climb. Please keep your seatbelts fastened. We expect smoother air shortly. The fourth one isn't big, but it's personal. A quick drop that bounces the book on Elizabeth's tray and draws a quiet "oh" from someone who doesn't do "oh." Amara's fingers tense on the armrest before habit returns to talk them down. She looks at the oval of window, not through it. Sometimes edges are easier than views. Michael is at the jump seat now, eyes on the ceiling as if he can read the air there. The interphone clicks, a small hinge turning. He listens, nods. Let's go. When his gaze returns to row 2, it finds Amara's and floats a question without insisting on an answer. Across the aisle, Mr. Blackwell has stopped typing. He keeps a hand on the keyboard anyway, as if a gesture might pin a world. His mouth shapes a dry line. He clears his throat, a noise that wants to be about coffee and is about control. You okay? He asks, and it doesn't quite sound like him. Amara lifts the can. Counting, she says, and shows him a breath with her hand. Up and out, like a tide that knows schedules. The plane shivers again. Not worse, just closer. Her chest tightens on habit and history. The pencil she'd left on the tray rolls toward the lip. Elizabeth's finger stops it without looking. A small, precisa kindness. Air behaves like water at this altitude. Elizabeth says, voice calibrated to be heard by exactly the people who should. We surf the denser parts and step around the rest. Mr. Blackwell offers a tiny, wry huff. I don't surf. You will? Elizabeth says, tips of her mouth thinking about a smile. Everyone does when the floor decides to be sky. A harder jolt arrives. Not violent définitive. Amara's shoulder taps the seat back. Ginger ale kisses the rim, decides against it. Her breath goes disorganized for half a beat. Thumb and forefinger press together, a trick she learned in a doctor's office meant for adults. The penguin charm, clipped inside her pack, knocks against the nylon. The sound is little and loud. Deep breath, a voice says from behind, warm and familiar, a blanket thrown over a chill. Zoe slides into the space beside Amara's row, one hand on the headrest for balance, the other already counting. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, box breathing. Boss. Michael appears as if conjured, one palm up like a traffic cop. Ziat belt. Sign, ma'am. 1 minute. Zoe says, without looking at him. She keeps her count with Amara's breath instead of the air's. Again. In. Hold. Out. Good. Again. Ma'am. Michael says, softer now, because he can see what this is. Another jolt. Zoe widens her stance and rides it like a person who refuses to get seasick. Amara follows the count. The square of breath draws itself. Slow pen around a page. Her chest unwinds by degrees. The tightness doesn't leave. It grows less interested in staying. I'm okay, she says. I know, Zoe replies. Which is the point. Sandra steps forward, reading the diagram of the aisle. Ma'am, I'll need you to be seated. Zoe nods, squeezes Amara's shoulder. and retreats the way a tide does reliably. She passes Marcus in the first row of economy. Their eyes meet for a half-second that confirms everything and invents nothing. She buckles, locks, breathes. Amara's can leaves a ring on the napkin. She draws a small square in her notebook and shades it, the same tiny window she shaded earlier, darker now and more certain. The plane hums like an enormous refrigerator, reassuring in a very specific domestic way. Mr. Blackwell watches the square appear. He has the peculiar expression of a person discovering an unfamiliar organ in his own chest. Is turbulence bad? He asks, immediately regretting the phrasing. It's information. Amara says, eyes on the square. It's the sky telling the plane where it is. He nods as if he's memorizing an answer for a test he didn't know he'd take. He glances at the sketch that's still visible on her tray, the grid of haptic nodes, tiny arrows, labels that don't waste a letter. The tactile thing, he says, more careful now. How would it work? Amara could choose to ignore him. She could choose to speak in headlines, defensive and neat. She chooses design. Grip sensors along the bezel, she says. Micro-vibra motors under a thin elastomer skin. The pattern teaches reading rhythm with a different channel touch instead of sight. Not replacing, adding, you're guiding the hand. He says, I'm giving the brain more choices. She corrects, brains like choice. He sits back, as if the seat has grown more honest. Outside, the wing hits a patch of good behavior. The cabin notices and pretends not to. The sign stays lit anyway. A bright ping from under Amara's tray, small as a coin dropped on a plate, interrupts the brief détente. She looks down. The tiny inner pocket of her blazer has unsat against an unhelpful angle. Something matte and black slides out, kisses the carpet, and begins a slow migration toward the narrow dark under 2C. Not the can, not the pencil, USB. She catches the top edge with 2 fingers before the next ripple could invent distance. It fights the pads of her fingers, smooth plastic and a stupid shine. She pinches harder, and the plane decides to shrug again. The drive slips half a breath gone. Elizabeth's shoe stops it, leather toe planting with ballet precision. The drive taps rubber and stays. Mr. Blackwell's hand is there a beat later, 2 fingers hooking the edge, delivering it back onto Amara's tray with the brisk respect. One gives an almost spilled beaker. Careful, he says, the word discovering manners. Amara locks eyes with him for the first time in a minute that has lasted 10. Thank you. He inclines his head the smallest possible distance, like 2 countries acknowledging a border. Michael materializes, because of course he does. His gaze drops to the drive, reads the silhouette, reads the weight of this moment without knowing why. We have small zip bags, he offers quietly. Friction helps. Please, Amara says. He returns with a clear pouch meant for almonds and secrets. She slides the drive in, presses the seal, then tucks it into the inside pocket and taps the flap twice. An incandescently unnecessary ritual that improves the universe anyway. She adds a note to the margin. Asterisk, asterisk. Reseal witness if possible. Asterisk, asterisk. Procedure is an antidote to adrenaline. The PA clicks. The captain returns, voice a notch, more formal. Folks, weather ahead is reporting a band we'd rather not tango with. ATC has offered us a slight jog to the north. We'll take a few extra minutes to keep it smooth. Appreciate you staying buckled while we thread the needles. A low, collective exhale rolls the cabin flatter. The word times jog times sits friendlier than times divert asterisk, which is the sort of calculus pilots do for a living. Sandra repeats the belt reminder, the way a teacher repeats a due date that isn't optional. The plane tilts, a measured, polite bank that turns the river of light in the windows into an arc. Detroit's geometry is long gone. Below them now are quilts and roads and winter trees with the patience of statues. The turbulence pares down, then tests the boundary again, like a dog trotting the fence line to check for integrity. Better, Elizabeth murmurs, watching the horizon settle where horizons prefer to be. Amara's shoulder lowers an inch. The square she shaded in her notebook has filled itself. She puts a dot in the center because centers are honest. Her breathing keeps its count without her, like a metronome remembering a song. Mr. Blackwell reopens his laptop, but slower, as if he owes the hinge an apology. The old defensiveness lies across his shoulders, but thinner. He chances a look at Elizabeth. "You're very calm," he says, meaning times. "I would like to borrow that if it's not nailed down. I respect procedure," she answers, which is not exactly the same as being calm. Also, "I've learned to keep a list of things that are mine to control. There are fewer than you think. There are more than you fear." He considers this, and does not type for a full 15 seconds, which counts as contemplation in his language. Sandra steps close enough that her voice can ride a smaller current. "Miss Jenkins," she says softly, "if you need anything ginger, cool cloth, just press the button." "I'm okay," Amara answers. "It's more true than earlier. Thank you." Sandra's smile replaces the kind of comfort people try to invent with words that aren't tools. She moves on, collecting glances and unease like a woman who knows where to put them. The sky holds steady long enough to invite conversation. Amara lets it. "Why 2 amperes?" she asks Elizabeth, not looking up from her notebook. "Habit," Elizabeth says, "and superstition disguised as preference. Window gives me context. Aisle gives me options. Today seemed like a context day. That's convenient." "Mr. Blackwell says, and the word comes out wearing the wrong suit. Elizabeth's eyes find his, and hold without hostility. Convenience is a story we tell ourselves about other people's planning. He doesn't have a ready file for that. He files it anyway. The belt sign dings and, for a moment, flirts with the idea of turning off. It decides against it. 2 pings behind them request what will not be granted. The interphone buzzes and stops. A cart rattles in a restrained way that says, asterisk, asterisk, not yet, asterisk, asterisk. Amara leans her head a fraction toward the window. The wing is a long sentence ending in a period you can trust. The notebook waits. The shaded square looks like a small door now. She writes beside it, "Different doors. Same room. Asterisk, asterisk, it's not a slogan. It's a design requirement." Another gentle wobble, and then a long, clear stretch that feels like a corridor, lit end to end. The atmosphere throws no more elbows. The cabin's collective shoulders drop by a centimeter. Michael unclips, takes 2 steps, and checks 1D's cufflinks for courage, with a professional smile that is very nearly kind. Marcus lets go of a breath. He wasn't holding and doesn't look toward row 2, because the absence of looking is its own service. Zoe texts a single dot that means everything is doing what it should. Amara's phone vibrates once and is ignored obediently. "See, Mr. Blackwell says," and the attempt at levity has become less brittle. "Surfing, walking on water." Elizabeth amends, "But we brought a boat?" A thin laugh leaks out of him, surprised to find air. Amara slips the notebook away, palms flat on the tray a moment to feel the hum. Her hand goes to the inside pocket, presses the drive she nearly lost. Then the tablet sleeve, where paper presses its small, square pulse. She measures one more breath and calls it good. The captain returns, warmer. "All right, folks. That's the worst of it for now. We'll keep the sign on a little longer. Think of it as a fashion choice. Thanks for your patience." A smatter of chuckles, the cabin's way of clapping with its seatbelts. Sandra and Michael exchange a look. Pilots would recognize a quick inventory of what didn't happen. Procedure earns itself another quiet point. Amara tilts the shade halfway, letting the light paint a diagonal across her lap. The penguin charm clicks once inside the bag. An affirmative outside. The sky looks like a decision made and kept inside. The little square in her notebook is still a door, and on the other side of it, there's a room she's building, where more people get to stand in the light. The air settles into a corridor of cooperation, the kind crews recognize and never brag about. The seatbelt sign stays lit out of principle. Up front, the interphone clicks, one of those tiny hinge sounds only flight attendants and watchmakers really hear. Michael stands, gets the nod from Sandra, and steps into the aisle with a face built for neutral news. He stops at row 2 and keeps his voice for the people who need it. Miss Jenkins, when it's safe to move, the captain would like to speak with you in the forward galley. Just you and your parent or guardian. Please bring your travel documents. The request lands soft and heavy at once. Across the aisle, Elizabeth looks up from a sentence she wasn't reading. 2 rows back, someone mishears and decides not to ask. Mr. Blackwell's fingers pause above the keyboard, as if keys could hold breath. Amara nods. The asterisk boarding pass. Asterisk presses through the tablet sleeve under her palm like a square decision. She taps the pocket that now holds the rescued USB, then unclips her belt. The sign is still on. She waits. Michael waits with her. The plane rides one more ripple, and then none. The chime sounds. Sandra's hand lifts in a permission arc. Amara stands. Marcus is already at the curtain when Michael draws it aside. Sandra guides them both forward, the quiet choreography of people who carry metal carts through impatience for a living. The galley smells faintly of citrus wipes and new coffee. Sandra leans toward them, voice pitched under the engine note. Captain's on interphone. He'll explain. She places a plastic document sleeve on the counter without touching it toward them. Clear. Empty. Official only because she says so. The cockpit door remains closed. Matte and absolute. The interphone handset rests in its cradle like a promise. Sandra lifts it, presses a button, and offers the second handset to Marcus. You'll be on a party line, she says. We do not open the door. A click, and a voice arrives, sanded smooth by hours above weather. Good morning in the forward galley. This is your captain speaking. Mr. Jenkins. Miss Jenkins, thanks for stepping up. I'm Captain Sullivan. Marcus Jenkins here, Marcus says, thumb and forefinger steady on the handset. My daughter, Amara, is with me. Copy. Sullivan replies. I'll be brief. We just received an ACARS uplink from company operations relaying a message from station security on our arrival end. It references a third-party tip, flagging possible irregularities associated with a passenger named Amara Jenkins. Specifically, the tip alleges travel under false pretenses. The words arrive in segments that pretend to be furniture. Amara feels the floor remain floor. She keeps her voice even. What does that require from us, Captain? First step is simple verification, Sullivan says. Boarding document, and any corroborating paperwork for the stated purpose of travel. We'll document and forward confirmation back downlink, so station security has it when we land. If we cannot resolve in flight, we coordinate with dispatch and ATC for next steps. Our goal is to keep this routine, the most merciful word in the language of airplanes. Sandra places the empty sleeve closer, not touching it still. Let's start with documents. Passport, boarding pass, Anything else you have handy? I'll view only photograph on the cabin EFB if needed, and hand them back. Amara unzips the document pouch. The ritual makes the air easier to hold. She lays out passport, boarding pass 2 ampères, printed meeting confirmation on letterhead, with the SUNTC address, a letter from council authorizing travel with Guardian and naming herself as CEO. Marcus adds his ID, the itinerary with UTC scribbled in the margins, and a card with their corporate council's number. Sandra does not shuffle. She reads names, dates, faces with the patience of checklists. She scans the boarding pass QR to the cabin tablet, pulls up the manifest, and cross-checks the PNR. Name matches. Photo consistent. Her thumbs move efficiently, logging in a cabin report. Captain, we have passport and ticket confirmation for Miss Jenkins in 2 amperes. Guardian in economy. Documentation referencing a business meeting at arrival. Copy. Sullivan says, calmer than the words, Miss Jenkins, can you confirm in your own words the purpose of travel? Business, Amara says, presentation with Sunt Ventures at 11 tomorrow. EdTech platform expansion. Will return after. Understood, he says, and, Mr. Jenkins, you are her legal guardian for this trip. Yes, Marcus answers, signed authorization from her mother. In the packet, Sandra nods once. Seeing it where it is, she lifts the EFB, angles it to avoid glare, and takes 3 photos. Passport open, boarding pass, letterhead. She narrates each to the cabin report as she does it. Images captured for cabin report attached to position time. She says quietly, we do nothing with originals. Thank you. Sullivan says, stand by while I coordinate a downlink. The line goes steady, somewhere beyond the door. The sound of air conditioning and avionics and choices. Sandra slides the passport and boarding pass back across the counter. Marcus lets Amara pick them up. Ownership is a kind of oxygen. I'll add a brief witness note. Sandra says, time, location, who present? It's a boring paragraph. Boring is good. Amara breathes once. Like agreement. Boring wins, she says. Not to be clever. Best kind of win. Sandra returns. Almost smiling, she glances toward the cabin, where Michael manages both patience and napkins. Do you need water? I'm okay, Amara says. It's true. Here. For now, the handset clicks back to life. Forward galley. Captain again. Sullivan says, Ops has acknowledged receipt. Station security requests we forward any additional corroboration regarding the meeting, if available. No instructions to divert at this time. We'll maintain course while we complete the loop. We have an email thread with the investment office, Marcus says. On the device, screenshots are admissible for their purposes. Sandra notes, if you'd like to display subject lines, dates, we can capture. Amara powers her tablet, opens the folder. Subject lines stack like proof stepping stones. Asterisk, asterisk, SUNTC board presentation logistics. Asterisk, asterisk, access. Inclusion module pre-read. Asterisk, asterisk, arrival coordination. Asterisk, asterisk. She scrolls to pull timestamps into frame. Sandra photographs with the EFB, narrating quietly. Subject lines. Dates. Sender domains. Behind them, a chime peals down the cabin. A passenger pressing a call light he knows will be ignored. Michael answers it anyway with a glance, a smile, and a hand gesture that translates as later. Thank you. Sullivan says, his voice adjusts half a degree warmer. I appreciate your cooperation. Both of you. We're in a low workload segment of flight. We'll keep you updated. If the station needs anything further, we'll go through the crew. Marcus keeps the handset. Captain, for the record, we suspect the tip is retaliatory and baseless. I understand. Sullivan says, my job is to follow the protocol without adding gravity. We'll keep this quiet and procedural. If anything changes, we'll advise. Sandra reshelves the EFB, logs the cabin note into the report, and adds the exact time from the wall clock. I've also noted that we did not open the flight deck, she says, a sentence that satisfies a manual somewhere. Copy. Sullivan replies, we'll send the downlink now. Thank you. The line clicks to a polite silence. Sandra hooks both handsets with one motion and seats them home. The galley hum returns machines and fans, and one coffee cup ticking itself cooler. Amara looks up at Marcus. I have one more document, she says. She pulls the printed one-pager of Dreamscape's Global Access Initiative from the folder. It isn't necessary. It feels correct. Sandra takes a quick image of the header and leaves the rest alone. Proof does not need to be dramatic to be enough. Back through the curtain, the cabin has arranged itself into a tableau of studious non-interest. Mr. Blackwell stares at his screen so hard it should melt. Elizabeth pretends to read and fails beautifully. Marcus squeezes Amara's shoulder in the kind of brief that travels long. Thank you for coming forward, Sandra says as she walks them back. If we need more, we'll ask. Otherwise, please enjoy the flight. Enjoy, a generous verb. At row 2, Elizabeth lifts her eyes. The questions in them are not greedy. Amara answers none, and all by sitting, buckling, and placing the asterisk, boarding pass, asterisk, back where it has lived all morning. Inside the sleeve, square and humming, across the aisle. Mr. Blackwell doesn't realize he's watching until he is. His throat works around words that haven't learned how to apologize. He clears it instead. Back to his lane. The interphone clicks again. Michael picks up in 2 beats, listens, and nods. He walks the length of row 1 and stops just past Amara, speaking to the aisle in general the way good news should travel. Captain advises we're staying on plan, he says, as if announcing that the sky will remain sky. We appreciate everyone keeping belts fastened a little longer while we coordinate with the ground. A soft exhale moves through the cabin, the social kind that isn't relief yet but is ready for it. Amara opens her notebook and draws a narrow rectangle at the top of a clean page. Asterisk, forward galley, asterisk, under it, she writes, voice, not door asterisk. She adds time in UTC from the watch at her wrist. Then a second bullet, procedure is a bridge asterisk. She underlines bridge exactly once. Her hand drifts to the inside pocket again, USB there. Zip seal smug. And then to the sleeve where paper presses its little square assurance. Across the aisle, Elizabeth lifts her water in the smallest salute, the kind that says times, seen times without stealing anything. The engines hold their elemental hum. The wing out the window writes calm in a language learned over decades. Somewhere beyond the door, a pilot sends a downlink. A dispatcher reads it. A security officer tags a file times verified pending arrival asterisk. Strings of text become less dangerous. Michael appears with a fresh napkin, like a treaty in cloth. We're out of ginger ale for now, he says. Club soda. Club soda is ginger ale, wearing a lab coat. Amara says, and takes it. A sound that might be a laugh escapes Mr. Blackwell before he can claim it. He looks startled by the air. Elizabeth smiles, this time on purpose. Better windows, she says quietly. Amara sets the cup down, half shade open on the world. The corridor of cooperation holds. Procedure has the reins without yanking. Above a country of small squares and long lines, the airplane flies as if that is what it was built to do. Inside, a few pieces of paper, a handful of photos, and a voice over a wire have turned something ugly into something manageable. Not solved. Better. The interphone stays quiet. The sign stays on and begins to mean comfort. In row 2, a girl breathes and writes, and keeps her hand on a piece of plastic that keeps a piece of paper, that keeps a seat exactly where it belongs. The calm holds for a handful of long, competent minutes, enough for cups to earn rings and shoulders to forget their jobs. Then the interphone clicks again. Sandralistans. Posture. Going still in the purposeful way of people who catalog problems before they feel them. She thanks the air, replaces the handset, and walks forward as if spacing were a tool she trusts. The PA chimes. Captain Sullivan's voice returns, smooth to professional satin with a stitch of grit underneath. Folks, quick update from company ops. Our arrival station would like a more formal verification on a security matter once we're on the ground. To minimize disruption in San Francisco airspace, we've coordinated a short stop at Oakland, where the appropriate personnel can meet the aircraft. We'll taxi to a remote stand, remain on board, and continue to our destination afterward. Appreciate your patience and your seatbelts. The sentence lands in the cabin the way weather lands, impersonal, consequential. A murmur rises and then trims itself for decency. Mr. Blackwell swallows hard enough to be audible to himself. Elizabeth's book closes on a finger, saving nothing but the idea of saving something. Amara keeps her hand on the tablet sleeve, where the boarding pass lives. A square pulse under plastic. Marcus hears the announcement filter through the fabric of the curtain and feels the cabin rebalance, curiosity forward, calculation across, worry aft. He keeps his spine against the economy headrest and his eyes on a point that doesn't need looking at. Boring is ballast. The descent begins with the gentle implication of descent. A change in pitch, a subtle forward lean, a city beginning to unpixel in the distance. The bay appears as a slick of light. Bridges draw themselves with the confidence of habit. The seatbelt sign remains a lit opinion. Cabin, prepare for arrival. Sandra says into the handset. Checklists unfold. Carts latched. Latches checked. Heads counted by the small ritual of eyes, meeting eyes. Michael secures the forward galley and tucks a waste bag as if it were a treaty in paper. Amara opens her notebook and prints 2 neat words at the top of a new page. Remote stand. Under it. We wait in the middle. She adds the time and UTC from her watch face. Numbers are handrails. They touch down without commentary. The brief kiss of tires and asphalt, saying we agree. Reverse thrusters roar in a voice that leaves no room for argument, then spool back to civility. The airplane leaves the runway like a guest who knows which door is theirs. Taxi is a geometry lesson. Right. Hold. Left. Long straight that passes. Hangars with logos that promise things to planes. The terminal veers off stage left. The aircraft rolls toward a patch of concrete, bordered by chain link and competence. 2 vehicles wait: the airport police sedan with its lights dark, a larger SUV unmarked in the way marked vehicles try on weekends. A set of portable stairs stands at attention, guarded by cones that look ceremonial and are not. Ladies and gentlemen, The captain says, as briefed, we'll be pausing here while local security verifies some documentation. Please remain seated. Flight attendants. Door 1 liter disarmed. Stairs attached. Guard posted. The forward door doesn't open yet. Even pauses have rituals. A marshaller in a fluorescent vest raises paddles to a plane that already understands. The chocks kiss the tires. The hum of the engines winds down to a civilized throat-clearing. Silence of a different kind walks aboard. The forward door opens onto metal stairs. And outdoor air cooler, salt-touched. Sandra stands just inside the threshold, a firm comma between worlds. 2 officers mount the stairs, followed by a woman in a dark blazer with the posture of someone whose job is to ask only necessary questions. "Good afternoon," the blazer says, flashing an ID in a way that shares without lingering. "Special Agent Tanya Rodriguez, Federal. With me, Officer Park and Officer Lazo, Airport Police. We'll be brief. Folks," she confers with Sandra in low, practiced tones that carry only to the people who need to hear them. Sandra nods, consults the cabin EFB, and glances at row 2 for exactly 1 second, long enough to be clear, not long enough to perform. Michael steps to the aisle. "Miss Jenkins, Mr. Jenkins," he says gently, "Agent Rodriguez would like a word with you in the forward galley. You may bring your documents." Amara unbuckles. Marcus is already in the aisle because he refuses to be the second part of anything when it concerns her. They move forward through a cabin that pretends not to look. Elizabeth's gaze finds them without hooking. "Mr. Blackwell's laptop shuts itself with a soft accident. The galley has become a small courthouse. Stainless counters. A narrow bench. Witnesses made of latches and labels. Agent Rodriguez greets them with a nod intended to lower rather than raise temperature. "Miss Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins. Thank you. We received a tip referencing possible identity irregularities and asking for verification of your travel purpose. I understand you've already provided documents to the crew." "Yes," Sandra says, businesslike. "I captured images to the cabin report with timestamps and forwarded them via the flight deck. We appreciate the cooperation," Rodriguez says. Her eyes meet Amara's directly, and the respect there is not condescension. "To close the loop, I'll view originals myself and ask a few questions on the record. We're not removing you from the aircraft at this time." At this time, a careful doorway. Amara passes the passport. The *** boarding pass. 2 amperes ***. The letter of consent, the meeting confirmation. Rodriguez examines with economy. She has seen 1,000 documents presented badly and 100 presented well. She returns each as if returning a borrowed tool. "Please state your full name and purpose of travel," Rodriguez says, the recorder on her phone blinking a red dot. That means nothing cinematic. "Amara Jenkins." Amara says, "Business meeting with Sunsea Ventures tomorrow at 11. I'm the founder and CEO of Dreamscape, an educational technology company." Rodriguez doesn't lift an eyebrow. "Mr. Jenkins, your relation, father and legal guardian for this trip," Marcus says, handing over the letter again, though it's already been seen. "Thank you." Rodriguez clicks her pen the way pens expect to be clicked in moments like this. "We also received a secondary claim, a separate channel suggesting financial irregularities associated with your company. That claim does not require action on this aircraft. However, if you wish to proffer any brief statement, I can append it to the file." Diane's number burns patient in Marcus's pocket. He keeps it there for now. "We operate with transparent audits and SEC filing," he says calmly. Our counsel is available to provide documentation. We will cooperate fully. Rodriguez notes it without flourish. Understood. She looks to Sandra. Cabin report has your witness note. Yes. Sandra says, already tapping the time. Forward galley. Door secured. No flight deck access. Partie present. Boring paragraph. Rodriguez's mouth considers a half smile. Boring is my favorite flavor. She turns back to Amara. We're going to step up to the threshold for one quick confirm with ground over a secure channel. You can remain here with Officer Park. They shift 2 steps to the door. Cold air strokes in. Outside, the SUV idles, patient and unbothered. Rodriguez speaks into a radio clipped inside her blazer. The words are a language of codes that keep drama out of conversation. She nods once, twice, listens longer than she speaks. Her posture loosens by a degree. We're good to proceed, she says, returning to the galley. Verification complete for the identity and travel purpose portion. We'll transmit the record to San Francisco Station Security and flag the second claim as pending review off aircraft. You may continue to your destination. Sandra exhales, with the discipline of someone who remembers not to exhale audibly. Copy, she says, and that one syllable holds a universe. She steps to the PA. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your patience. We'll be getting back on our way shortly. Please remain seated as the officers deplane and we secure the door. Officer Lazo gives a small, human nod to Amara. Good day, as gesture, rather than words. Rodriguez offers a card to Marcus. For your counsel, she says, tell them to reference Oakland file number on the back. And, Miss Jenkins, Amara meets her eyes. You handled that well. Rodriguez says, the compliment is clean, without leaves. Thank you. Amara answers, and it lands exactly where it should. Back in row 2, the air changes. Flavorless metallic edge, more pressurized normal. Marcus returns to economy without looking like retreat. Amara buckles in and slides the *** boarding pass. *** back under her palm. Square home. Finding square home. Across the aisle, Mr. Blackwell tries to assemble his face into something not made of weather. He fails at least once before succeeding. Everything all right? He asks, and the question arrives carrying bags. He doesn't know how to check. It will be Amara says, which is not reassurance so much as architecture. Elizabeth's gaze rests on Mr. Blackwell long enough to become a mirror. He looks away first. Discovering that the tray table has fingerprints to study, the officers descend the stairs. Their weight, a temporary addition to the math of the day. The door thunks shut with a sound that suggests trust. Sandra crosses to 1 liter, arms and eyes performing the ritual that bars the sky from the room. Door 1 liter is armed, she says into the handset, and then again in the tone that lives only in logbooks. The engines cough back to life. Patient machines recovering work. The marshaller sweeps his paddles in a circle that could be dance or order. The aircraft rolls, gentle as leaving a library. Taxi back feels shorter, which is not how distance works, and exactly how relief does. Appreciate your cooperation. Folks, the captain says, we'll slide back into the stream and should have only a minor delay into San Francisco. Thanks again for staying buckled and kind. Kind. He said kind, a row behind. Someone claps once, realizes, and stops. The sound dissolves into a laugh that forgives itself. Michael glides past with the controlled warmth of someone who knows how much heat a room can bear. He places a fresh napkin on Amara's tray. A small square treaty. Klap soda top up. Please, she says. He fills the plastic cup. The bubbles applaud in miniature. The wheels leave the ground again, almost before the cabin has remembered sitting still. Oakland shrinks into geometry and then into design. The bay glitters, uncommitted to anyone's plot. Amara opens her notebook and writes at the bottom of the *** remote stand *** page ** bridge held **. Then, beneath * names recorded. Doors stayed shut. We stayed standing. * she adds the time. The digits line up like good soldiers. Across the aisle, Elizabeth studies the horizon. Her reflection in the window sits next to Amara's like two versions of the same element under different lab conditions. Mr. Blackwell watches his own hands for a moment, as if they might confess. The seatbelt sign remains on. A familiar guardian. The wing outside resumes its patient syntax. Lift, drag, thrust, weight. Words the air agrees to every time. Inside, the little square under Amara's hand agrees to be itself, to be a place saved in a book that has decided to keep writing. The car from the airport crosses the bay like a low, sure sentence. Late light rations itself over water. Cranes hold their poses like punctuation. In the back seat, Amara's notebook lies open to a page titled *** Oakland file. **. Under it, a short list. Agent Rodriguez primary contact. **. File no. Back of card. Deliverables. Audit. Worm proofs. Partner letters. **. Keep everything boring. Zoe's text lands with a polite buzz. **. Diane is en route to the field office. Bring nothing you can't summarize. **. Marcus replies with a thumbs up and a pin of the address. He looks at Amara. We'll keep this tight. Tight is kind, she says, and the corner of his mouth admits it. The Oakland field office doesn't try to be cinematic. Brick, shade trees, a lobby that smells faintly of copier and lemon. Security takes their IDs with practiced decency. A clerk provides visitor badges and a clear tray for anything with metal edges. The tray receives very little. Agent Rodriguez meets them in a small conference room with a window the size of a manila folder. With her is a second agent, older, hair salt against dark jacket, face like a map that's been folded. Special Agent Donovan. Rodriguez says, "Financial crimes." Donovan shakes their hands like a man who prefers facts to introductions. "We'll keep this structured and brief," he says. "Our goal is to understand the second allegation, the one asserting financial irregularities, and decide what, if anything, we need to do today." Zoe sets a slim gray binder on the table. It lands with the confidence of a tool. Quarterly audit. Extracts you can read fast. We brought checksums for the data room assets. Worm evidence on a drive if you allow devices. We won't plug anything into our systems, Donovan says, but we will examine originals. He nods to Rodriguez, who places a yellow legal pad between them like common ground. Let's start with a high view. Amara leans forward. Steady. We subsidize deployments in under-resourced districts outside the U.S. The funds flow through licensed custodial accounts in-country. FX is hedged weekly. Disbursements are tied to teacher training completion and classroom readiness. Milestones. Every step is audited. Donovan's pen clicks once, almost approving, and the allegation claims we're laundering revenue through those same corridors. Marcus says, even to inflate valuation and disguise related party payments. We are not. Show us the spine. Donovan says. Zoe opens the binder. Tabs labeled with verbs, not departments. **, collect, asterisk, 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 convert, asterisk, 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 deploy, asterisk, asterisk, reconcile. She selects asterisk, asterisk, reconcile, asterisk, asterisk, and slides out a single-page chart. This is the pane that ties bank confirmations to the accounting trail. She says, left column is originating accounts, right column is beneficiary institutions, everyone named, nothing cute. She points to the bottom corner, hash, printed at time of compile, SHA-2, 5, 6. Here's the worm archive receipt that corresponds vendor, timestamp, immutability attested. Rodriguez takes the page like it might have opinions. Who else has access to this level of detail? CFO, Audit Committee, Counsel. Zoe says, and me. Any ex-employees with access? Donovan asks. 2. Marcus says, both bound by standard NDA. One left amicably. One did not. Names. Donovan asks, and writes without looking up when he hears them. Let's test a path, he says, sliding a finger along a line item. Uganda Program, Fortnight 3. Show me source to destination. Zoe supplies 3 documents and a letter from a local partner, co-signed by a ministry official whose signature looks like weather. Donovan compares stamps and stamps of stamps, and something in his shoulders says yes. Good, he says. Now the allegation mentions offshore accounts of Krasin. We use international banks. Zoe says, dry. Because those countries are international, Rodriguez snorts softly, then lets the humor evaporate on schedule. What about internal controls on administrator permissions? Separated, Zoe says. Approvals require 2 humans who annoy each other, and an internal key that hates everyone equally. We assume someone will try something stupid and plan accordingly. Donovan's pen stops. That sentence I like. The door opens a notch. A woman in a dark suit steps in with the authority of a deadline wearing heels. She is compact, composed, and all focus. Apologies for the lag, she says. Traffic taught me about inevitability. Diane. Marcus says, relief, lifting the syllable. Counsel, she says to the agents, offering her card, then sets a slimmer folder on the table. We've pre-compiled a disclosure packet in anticipation of exactly this claim. It includes independent auditor letters, partner attestations, and a memo on pattern abuse we believe is relevant. Pattern abuse, Donovan asks. Diane turns a page like flipping a switch. 3 minority-founded tech companies last 6 months. Each hit with anonymous tips, alleging financial impropriety within 48 hours of a major funding event. In all cases, the tips triggered slowdowns and headlines. In none, so far, was fraud substantiated. In 2, the companies sold under pressure. Discounts averaging 32%. Source, Donovan asks. Public filings, Diana says, and a confidential witness who recently left a firm with ties to those events. We can get you the sworn statement within the week. Rodriguez's posture shifts, just a degree, just enough to move the room. You believe this is a playbook. I believe someone thinks it is. Diana says, and that they've tried to run it here. There's a short silence in which paper becomes heavier. Donovan looks at Amara, not past her. Miss Jenkins, are you comfortable with us treating your materials as voluntary production under a preliminary review? Yes, Amara says. Then we'll proceed that way. He says, no subpoena today, no Zeitzery. We take notes, copies where appropriate, and return your life to you when this hour is over. Diane exhales in a way that keeps dignity intact. We appreciate the clarity. A knock at the door comes soft as a footnote. Rodriguez opens it halfway. A staffer holds out an interoffice envelope with a sticker that says asterisk asterisk hand carry asterisk asterisk. For Agent Rodriguez, he says, already retreating. She opens the clasp and shakes out 2 stapled pages and a business card. The name on the card lifts a small current in the air. Elizabeth Montgomery. The note clipped to it is not long. Rodriguez scans, then passes the pages to Donovan. He reads with his head slightly tilted, the way some people listen to birds. What is it? Marcus asks. Diane already knows the shape of any answer worth giving. New evidence, she says. Rodriguez notes. Sworn declaration, she says, from a former senior VP at a large investment firm, claims she has first-hand knowledge of a strategy to depress valuations of targeted companies using unverified tips to law enforcement and media, include that meeting attendees, and exhibits she proposes to deliver to us tomorrow morning. Name the firm, Zoe says. Not quite a question. Rodriguez reads the word TechCore. The room holds still as a thought, deciding whether it is dangerous. Amara doesn't move. She's been in rooms where names open trapdoors. She keeps her hand flat on the paper in front of her until sensation returns. Ms. Montgomery's declaration references Dreamscape by name, Donovan says. She states you were discussed in 2 internal meetings as a priority target after rejecting an acquisition approach last year, which we did, Marcus says, then stops himself from elaborating. The impulse to justify is a tell lawyers eat for breakfast. Diane taps the table once with her pen. We need to formalize a handoff chain. If she's bringing exhibits, she says, no back-channel heroics. We'll do it right. Rodriguez says, secure intake, serial numbers, receipts. If she has what she says she has, this moves fast from room to case. Enda. Donovan looks at the clock, a modest office piece that keeps its own counsel. 2 realities can coexist, he says. 1. Your company appears, at first pass, to be running clean books. 2. Someone with resources may be trying to drag mud across those books for effect. Effect successful so far, Zoe says. Rye, we just lost a day. Diane's gaze goes to Amara. Cost is part of the ledger, she says, and her voice is not unkind. We'll convert it into leverage. Amara nods once. I need to notify the board contact we're rescheduling, she says, and send them a summary they can repeat without breaking anything. Do that, Diane says. Keep it factual and dull. Amara writes 3 lines on a card, the kind that looks like a grocery list. If you don't read it, asterisk. Flight delay due to routine verification at request of arrival station. Asterisk voluntary meeting with federal agents third-party claim. Asterisk. No findings. Materials provided. Meeting moved to 11. Zero. Tomorrow. She slides the card to Marcus, without theatrics. He takes a photo and texts it to the board contact with exactly 1 sentence. The read receipt returns like a nod from far away. Rodriguez stands. Here's how we close today, she says. We'll take a set of copies from your binder covers and Representative Guts stamp and bag them. Give you receipts. We'll log your worm receipts by hash only. We'll contact you by 9 a.m. if we need anything else. If Ms. Montgomery appears with exhibits as promised, we'll call counsel first. And in the meantime, Marcus asks, go do your job. Rodriguez says, we'll do ours. They compile the copies with the careful speed of people who have learned that speed is not care's enemy, only its cousin. A clerk arrives with clear tamper bags. Each document gets a photo before the bag swallows it. Each bag gets a number. Each number gets a line on a sheet that becomes part of the room's memory. Diane initials the edges, the way lawyers mark time and objects. Donovan signs as witness. Rodriguez adds the file number with deliberate penmanship that keeps future misunderstandings unemployed. When it's done, the table looks briefly naked. Zoe repacks the binder, slides the red drive into a zip pouch, seals, and writes across the top, asterisk, asterisk, return to counsel. Asterisk, asterisk. Though she didn't have to. Habits are handrails too. Questions. Donovan asks, and means it. 1. Amara says, if TechCore is playing this playbook, do you tell the other companies? If and when it becomes a case with patterns we can responsibly speak about, Rodriguez says. Then yes. Good. Amara says, and it isn't a flourish. In the hallway, the humming fluorescent feels friendlier than earlier. Outside, evening has turned the parking lot into a diagram of shadows. The air smells like the kind of night that lets you think while it's thinking too. On the sidewalk, Diane stops them for a small huddle. 2 moves before bed. She says, 1. I'll brief Sunsea's counsel with just enough details so they're comfortable tomorrow. 2. We draft a 1-paragraph statement for press times in case times. This turns into a headline we didn't order. We won't release unless forced. What does the statement say? Marcus asks. That we respect process. Diana says. And that we're boring. Boring wins. Zoe says. Unable not to. Boring wins. Diane agrees. She looks at Amara. You took a hit today. We'll make it buy something. It already did. Amara says. She looks across the lot, where a woman with silver hair leans against a sedan, phone to ear, listening hard. The woman meets her eyes and lifts 2 fingers in a salute that is not casual. Elizabeth ends the call and walks over, the set of her shoulders different now that a decision has added its weight. Counsel, she says to Diane, offering a second card. Agent Rodriguez has my declaration. Tomorrow at 8, I'll deliver exhibits to this office. Meetings, emails, internal memos, names. Why now? Marcus asks, without heat. Because now you are a clean variable, Elizabeth says, and because waiting longer would make me complicit in someone else's math. Cost, Diane asks. The professional word for asterisk. Asterisk. What will this do to you? Asterisk. Asterisk. Considerable, Elizabeth says, with a smile that has teeth. But I have a list of things that are mine to control. The 4 of them stand there for a beat CEO, father, counsel, whistleblower, each holding a corner of something that is either a net or a map. Cars come and go around them, indifferent and exact. We'll see you at 8, Diane says. Bring a good pen. Elizabeth says, there's a lot of signing. On the drive back across the water, the bay holds the last of the light like a careful server. Amara writes 1 line in her notebook. Under asterisk asterisk Oakland file asterisk 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 pattern named asterisk, then another asterisk tomorrow. Proof. Then room. She leans her head against the glass. The city ahead is an array of small squares, where people are deciding whether to be kind. Somewhere inside those squares are rooms with doors that have been in the wrong place for a long time. She is tired. She is ready. Zoe's phone buzzes. Asterisk. Asterisk. Board confirmed the new time. They added, and we're rooting for your boring asterisk asterisk. Marcus laughs once. Diane emails a draft statement that is mostly punctuation. The car takes the bridge like it was built to. The day does not apologize for itself. The St. Regis lobby is the kind of quiet that costs money, carpet that edits footsteps, flowers that have union cards. A pianist coaxes standards toward evening. At the far end, a man sits too upright on a low sofa, a briefcase handcuffed to his posture. When he stands, the mistake on his face tries to look like resolve. Mr. Blackwell, Marcus says, the name placed on the table between them like an object they won't pretend is something else. I know I shouldn't be here, Richard says, but I think I have to be. He glances at the concierge, at the pianist, at a vase that could be blame if it wanted. 5 minutes. Diane arrives from the elevators with Zoe, already shaking her head no, and taking out a pen to write times, maybe asterisk. Amara watches the choreography settle. Marcus to the left of the conversation, Zoe to the right. Diane at the hinge, her notebook open to a page that looks pre-written. They are a geometry problem with a moving point in the center. A conference room. Diane tells the front desk. Something small. No catering. A door that closes clean. They're shown to a glassed-in space off the lobby, frosted film up to shoulder level. City night poured across the rest. The table is round, which makes bad news walk farther to reach you. Richard sets the briefcase down and does not sit until everyone else does. He's learning, or performing learning. Record. Diane asks, already placing her phone flat and tapping a red circle that turns on consent. Yes, Richard says. His voice is the voice of a man who lost a vote held inside his own throat. You should record. Say your name and affiliation. Diane prompt. Richard Blackwell, Senior Director, Next Gen Educational Systems. He swallows. I'm here in a personal capacity. I understand the implications. Speak plainly, Marcus says, but not unkindly. Richard opens the briefcase. Inside, folders are arranged with the severity of guilt. He removes a stack secured with a brass fastener and slides it to Diane. Across the top, a clean label. Asterisk, asterisk, strategy. Competitive containment. Q. 2. Q. 3. Asterisk, asterisk. Beneath, a list of companies. One of the names is theirs. We were acquired by TechCore 3 months ago, he says. After that, they started quarterly alignment meetings. New directives, new euphemisms. He taps the packet without touching it. This is a deck from one of those sessions. The gist: identify category leaders who threaten our numbers, then contain them. Tactics include anonymous tips about financial irregularities, whisper briefs to sympathetic reporters, concerned stakeholder letters to boards and regulators, and if necessary, paid social campaigns to seed doubts about leadership. Diane flips pages with the discipline of a metronome. The bullets behave like teeth. A timeline appears, then a budget line that does not apologize for itself. Screenshots of media monitoring dashboards. A mock-up of a concerned parent coalition microsite with no parents on it. Who authored? She asks. Nominally, a strategy group at Next Gen, Richard says. Real authorship, TechCore Competitive Intelligence. They attended by video. They never put their names on the slides. Distribution list. Diana asks. Controlled. Richard says. VPs. Some directors. But the language trickled into everything. People started talking like this on accident. Zoe looks at him over the top of her notes. And you? She asks. Did you talk like this on accident? I did, he says. Not defensive. And today I did worse than talk. The room doesn't move. The city outside blurs into a watercolor that refuses edges. I saw you on the plane, he says to Amara. I saw the seat. I felt. He stops. Tries again. It's not just a policy problem, it's a person problem. Mine. He unclenches a second packet. This is a meeting summary I wrote 2 weeks ago for my boss. It mentions your company by name. It suggests timing, an integrity check. That's the euphemism around your rumored funding. It recommends coordinating with TechCore's PR team to create ambient skepticism. Diane reads the summary and writes the words asterisk, asterisk, ambient skepticism, asterisk, asterisk, in her notebook. As if pinning a moth, she slides the packet to Marcus, then to Zoe, who takes a photo and does not breathe for the shutter. Emails. Diana asks. Richard nods. He pulls out a slim flash drive in a clear zip pouch, the kind housekeeping uses for sewing kits. Exports, he says. Meeting invites, notes, Slack threads. You'll need a machine that can be wiped, or I can print and cry. We won't plug anything in here, Diana says. Tomorrow at 8, Agent Rodriguez will take custody. You'll deliver directly to her. I've already called her. He says, I wanted to tell you first. Why us? Marcus asks. He's not asking for apology. He's asking for architecture. Richard looks at the glass. It gives him back a man he doesn't admire. Because you're the variable that proves the equation is wrong, he says. Because I made the call that turned an equation into a weapon. He looks down at his hands, surprised to find them there. And because my nephew uses your platform. He reads now. He laughs at words. I don't know if that makes sense. It does, Amara says. He nods as if she's stamped a form. I don't expect forgiveness. I expect to be part of the correction. Silence. The kind that checks everyone's pockets for sharp edges. Names, Diana says. Returning to the math. Who from TechCore directed the program? 2 senior VPs. Richard says. He names them. 1 counsel. 1 consultant who's in the building but not in the org chart. He adds dates. Rooms. Et dessert someone order. Details that make lies break out in hives. They called it de-risking. They called founders like you story risk. Hobie. Zoe exhales a sound that could cut glass. Of course they did. Chain of custody. Diane says, tapping the pouch. We seal this now. Tomorrow you hand a duplicate to the bureau. You'll also email me the list of custodians who touched these materials. Understood, he says. He looks at Amara again. I'm sorry. Amara studies him the way you study a blueprint that wants to be a building but isn't yet. Your nephew, she says. How old? 10. Tell his parents we're rolling an update next month, she says. New dyslexia overlay, better rhythm training. Beta slots will open early. He should sign up. Richard blinks. It lands harder than blame. Thank you, he says, and discovers the sentence is heavy to lift. Diane slides a tamper-evident bag from her satchel clear, with a red mouth and a number that is a promise. She writes the date, the time, asterisk, asterisk, Blackwell. Hotel asterisk asterisk, then nods to Zoe, who drops the pouch with the drive into the open jaw. Diane seals it with her thumb, crease to crease, then signs across the seam. She offers the pen to Richard. Initial, she says, witness to your own mess. He does. The bag looks smug in the way safety should. Marcus leans back and lets the chair take him. Tomorrow we'll walk this into the right hands. He says, tonight we sleep. He looks at Richard. You're going to be asked why you came forward. I'll say I was wrong. Richard answers. And that I wanted to be less wrong. That's a start, Marcus says. Outside the glass, the city decides to be more neon for a while. Inside, Diane stacks the papers in a precise little tower that could hold a door open. She turns to logistics, where Hope goes to get a job. Tomorrow, she says, we move in 3 lanes. 1, FBI intake with Elizabeth and Mr. Blackwell separately. 2. Minimal disclosure to Sunt C, so they are warm to the concept of unexciting fact. 3. A draft press line we won't use unless someone else uses theirs first. Words. Zoe asks. We respect process. Diane says, we keep building. We don't litigate in headlines. She looks at Amara. If asked, you say exactly 6 sentences, no more. You don't owe speeches to people trying to spend your oxygen. Amara nods. I'll write them now. She opens her notebook, flips to a clean page, and writes the bones. Asterisk. We provided documents voluntarily. Asterisk officials reviewed, and we cooperated fully. Asterisk. Our focus remains students and teachers. Asterisk. We're in the room tomorrow because of our work. Asterisk. We'll keep it boring, and we'll keep it moving. Asterisk. Thank you. She underlines asterisk, asterisk, boring asterisk, asterisk, once, because superstition and preference look similar on paper. Richard stands, unsure if the meeting is over, because his life hasn't been told to be yet. He looks smaller without defiance. There's one more thing, he says. He takes out a single sheet, folded. He hesitates, then hands it to Diane. A draft op-ed Tech Core PR circulated internally in case any of the targets imploded. I don't know if they'll place it. The byline would be industry veteran. That, Diane reads, the muscle in her jaw thinking, we'll be ready, she says, and slides the paper into a second tamper bag, with the same ceremony a small church for evidence. Mr. Blackwell, Marcus says, rising, you'll need counsel. I have one, Richard says, but I think I need a different one. He glances at Diane, who does not volunteer and does not refuse. Boundaries are also bridges. They shake hands the way people do when there is no correct gesture. Richard leaves with the careful gait of a person crossing a floor he helped make slippery. The door closes, competent and quiet, for a handful of seconds. Nobody speaks. The room hums with hotel electricity, that polite, expensive thrum. Down in the lobby, the pianist finds the part of a melody that sounds like walking home in good shoes. Zoe breaks the quiet. He brought receipts, she says, half to herself, half to the table. He brought himself, Diane says. The receipts will hold, the self will have to learn. Marcus turns to Amara. Food, he asks, remembering a promise made to a different hour. That truck by the pier, if it's not a myth, it closes at 3, she says. Deadpan. But there's a noodle place around the corner that forgives lateness. Perfect, he says. I need forgiving carbs. They pack the evening away. Diane with her numbered bags, Zoe with her gray binder now slightly heavier, Marcus with the kind of tired that sits in the shoulders and the kind that never does. Amara tucks her notebook into her backpack, then pauses. From the small inner pocket, she takes the bright red thumb, drive the decoy and the charm, and presses the zip seal with 2 fingers. She writes in the corner of the notebook, asterisk, asterisk, chain intact, asterisk, asterisk, then, lower, asterisk, asterisk. Proving is stronger than arguing. They step back into the lobby, where the pianist is smiling at the keys like an accomplice. The concierge pretends to have seen nothing and actually saw everything. Outside, the city air is colder and easier to breathe. At the curb, while they wait for the car Zoe has already summoned, a woman in a charcoal coat approaches with the careful speed of a good messenger, Elizabeth. The street light strips the silver in her hair into lines like mercury. Tomorrow at 8, she says to Diane. No hello necessary. I'll bring the exhibits, There's more than I thought. Someone in legal liked redundancy. She smiles a quick, practical smile at Amara. I approve of redundancy. So do we. Amara says. Elizabeth's gaze softens by a degree, then re-hardens into purpose. Eat, she says. Sleep. Wear shoes you can stand in a long time. Signatures take longer than they should. Copy, Diane says. And it sounds like blessing. They climb into the car. The city slides past in panes and pockets, steam from street grates. A neon dragon winding over a doorway. A man wheeling empties like a percussionist. Zoe texts the team a green dot. Marcus leans his head back and closes his eyes without leaving the room. Diane reads a draft to herself and changes one comma to a period. Amara watches their reflections in the window, layered over people they don't know. At a red light, a kid on a scooter stops beside them, looks in, and does that open smile. Children do the one that believes glass is not barrier but lens. Amara lifts her hand and waves. He waves back, then rockets forward when the world tells him he can. In the restaurant, they sit at a table that wobbles until Marcus learns where to put his hand. The noodles arrive in bowls that smell like rescue. No one says much for a while. Chewing is a mercy. When they do talk, it's about sesame oil and the weather, and how a certain kind of chair always lies about comfort. The big things can wait until morning, when pens and witnesses are awake. Back at the hotel door, Zoe peels off with a promise to set 5 alarms. Diane disappears toward her room with the tamper bags in a tote that looks like any other tote and is not. Marcus taps the elevator button as if it were a vote. In the mirrored wall, they are 4, and then 2, and then 1, and then none as the doors close. Inside the suite, Amara arranges the USBs on the desk like small planets finding orbit. She writes 3 more words at the bottom of the page. Asterisk, asterisk. We keep building, asterisk, asterisk. She caps the pen. The city exhales. Somewhere, a piano finds its way home. Dawn sharpens the edges of Market Street into a draft that remembers its lines. The city is washed and unrepentant. In the suite, the notebooks, drives, and printed letters are already where they need to be. Small planets in stable orbits. Amara ties her shoes with the precision of someone calibrating a tool. Marcus pockets the red drive and a quiet prayer. Zoe answers an email with a single period that means times received and executing asterisk. Diane knocks once and enters like a decision. 8 o'clock, she says. Bring nothing you can't afford to hand to history. The elevator serves them to the lobby in a stainless exhale. A car already idles at the curb. The driver has the long patience of early hours. The bay looks like a spreadsheet left open cells empty, promising order. The federal building receives them without pageantry. Security trays, belts, the sound of bins bumping into cordons. A guard stamps their visitor cards with a date that will matter later to someone else. Upstairs, a corridor hums with lights that have forgotten how to be new. Agent Rodriguez is waiting in a conference room that makes no promises. Rectangular table. Fourchère, a wall clock with the temperament of weather. Beside her sits Donovan, a legal pad squared to the table's edge. On the credenza, 3 tamper-evident bags line up like brisk, practical saints. Good morning, Rodriguez says. Let's make this clean. Diane sets her tote down, lays out last night's numbered bags, as if setting stones across a stream. Originals sealed, she says. Signatures across seams. Chain of custody begins here at 8:01. 8:01, Donovan repeats, writing it as if adding a small gear to a larger machine. He reads the numbers off each bag and the room says them back in chorus. Logging. confirming, absorbing. He signs, Rodriguez countersigns. Diane initials ink, putting tiny fences around time. The door opens. Elizabeth steps in with a banker's box that looks lighter than consequence. Her coat is a clean line. Her face is the decision after the decision. She sets the box down, rests a palm on the lid for a heartbeat, then lifts it. Inside, folders, envelopes, two spiral notebooks with tabs grown like coral. Good morning, agents, she says. My name is Elizabeth Montgomery. You have my sworn declaration. These are the exhibits referenced emails, calendar invites, meeting notes, draft budgets, an internal memo that calls itself a draft because it did not want to be caught. As a policy, Donovan does not reach for anything. We'll take a high-level inventory first, he says, then bag and tag. No one reads content until intake is complete. Agreed, Elizabeth says. She slides a cover sheet out, an index with dates, subjects, and a column labeled asterisk, asterisk, custodian, asterisk, asterisk. The names are ordinary in the way power likes two vowels. A crisp consonant, nothing to snag the ear. Rodriguez snaps on gloves. Not theater. A bit. She reads the first lines of the index, something in her posture easing. Thank you, she says. You understood the assignment? Elizabeth's mouth almost smiles. I've worked near law long enough to respect its boredom. She selects a thin envelope, places it atop the stack. Start with this. Internal Risk Memo from TechCore Competitive Intelligence. March recommending valuation dampening for category leaders incompatible with portfolio goals. Dreamscape is on page 2. Donovan lifts the envelope and does not open it. Receive, he says. He writes the bag number on his sheet, and the room feels a tiny weight move from one table to another. Invisible and real, they proceed as if setting up a lab. Each item is named. Each name becomes a line. Each line becomes a bag. Each bag becomes part of a chain that now has more links than excuses. Zoe watches the ritual with the attention of an engineer witnessing a failure mode being redesigned in front of her. 2 questions. Rodriguez says once the last signature dries. 1. Miss Montgomery, do you fear retaliation? I expect it, Elizabeth says. But fear is a bad project manager. 2. Rodriguez continues. Motivation. Elizabeth meets her eyes. If you sit inside a bad machine long enough, you begin to think in gears. I'd like to think indoors again. She turns to Amara. Some of those exhibits mention you by first name only. They assumed they didn't need to write the rest. Doors, not here's, Amara says softly. Different doors. Elizabeth says, same room. Rodriguez stunts. We'll walk this downstairs. She says, it goes to evidence. From there, the U.S. attorney will get a briefing memo before lunch. You'll all receive acknowledgement letters by end of day. We'll keep you updated on scope. Before you go, Donovan adds, one housekeeping note. You may get calls, press, investors, a lawyer with no last name. Say nothing helpful. Say nothing harmful. Say nothing you weren't going to say anyway. Understood? Diana says. She has already prepared 3 sentences for exactly those calls. They sit on the tip of her tongue like vitamin tablets, chalky and necessary. Back in the hallway, Elizabeth slows, lets the agent step ahead with the box. She turns to Amara. You'll be asked to congratulate me for courage. She says, don't congratulate systems when they work. People break. I'll congratulate boredom. Amara says, when it saves time. Elizabeth laughs. A brief, unadorned sound. Good. Save some for yourself. They part with no ceremony. The elevator takes them down. The sun has found its angles more thoroughly. Outside, The morning is fully open for business, the city placing orders and retrieving receipts. In the car, Diane lays out the next 90 minutes with economy. We meet SUNTC at 11 sharp. She says, "We arrived 10 early. We do not reference any of this unless asked directly by counsel. If asked, we keep to the card." Zoe forwards the AV deck to the board assistant with the subject line asterisk asterisk final 4. Real asterisk asterisk. Then deletes the asterisk asterisk. For real asterisk asterisk and sends it again. Marcus texts the driver a building entrance and a reminder about wheelchair access on the off chance. A ramp is faster than a revolving door. Amara reviews the demo script in her head until the words stop sounding like words and start sounding like a map. They enter a tower that believes in glass. Security is designed to be kind to keycards. The elevator climbs like a chart people send investors to make them feel taller. On the Sunt C floor, an assistant with a tidy calendar smile greets them and ushers them to a prep room so beige it seems intentional. 15 minutes. The assistant says, "The board just finished the prior session. AV is ready. Water is local. Local water." Zoe murmurs, "Always an early KPI." Amara stands at the demo station and checks the ports with her fingertips power. HDMI, backup, HDMI, Ethernet, a cable coiled like an apology. She places the matte black USB in the port with the gentleness of putting a stone back where a river wants it. The deck blooms on the wall as if it had been waiting in there for years. Slide 5. Zoe says, "Amara advances." Cohort curves arc across the screen in lines that do not show off so much as report back. Slide 9. The dyslexia overlay reveals itself with a tap letters breathing into spacing that invites eyes to try again. Slide 12. A heat map of engagement resolves into constellations. Slide 19. Cost model. Stern and precise. Then softened by the column titled asterisk, asterisk, local partners. Asterisk, asterisk. Final slide. Marcus says, "The room lands on asterisk asterisk access. Should not be an outlier. No confet, no crescendo. Just a line like a doorway." Time check. Diane says, "We have 8 minutes to be people and not slides." The assistant returns with a clipboard smile. "The chair will meet you at the door." She says, "They run on the minute." "Perfect." Diane says, "Which means times, we're ready asterisk." From the prep room window, the bay cuts a silver scalpel between land and land. Cranes hold extremely still. The wind tries to argue with a flag and learns its limits. Amara presses a palm to the cool glass and lets the temperature write its quiet argument into her skin. She releases a breath she had the discipline not to call nervous. 6 sentences. Marcus says. Amara nods. "I wrote them out." She says, "I'll use only what fits." They line up in a sequence they didn't rehearse and didn't need to. Zoe slightly behind Amara's left shoulder. Marcus half a step back and to the right. Diane carrying nothing conspicuous and everything important. The boardroom is large enough to be modest. A room that knows how to pay attention without asking to be thanked. A long table, 12 share, walls that hold art instead of mirrors. A view that could upstage people, choosing not to. At the head sits the chair. James Chen, calm where other people try. "Miss Jenkins," he says, standing as they approach. "Thank you for accommodating our reschedule. Thank you for accommodating reality." Amara says, and the corner of his mouth offers a small, approving bend. Introductions are brief and complete. A counsel from Sunt C nods specifically to Diane, A gesture like two chess clocks meeting. A chief of staff points at the screen and says, "We'll start there." Amara plugs in the room with a glance at Zoe, who nods times, green across the board asterisk. She steps to the right distance from the display, the one that says times, "I respect the data. Times and times I am not hiding behind it." Asterisk. "Good morning," she begins, and the room gives her the kind of silence that feels like an agreement rather than a test. We build software that lets more kinds of minds learn on purpose. Today I'll show you what that looks like at scale, what it costs, and what it gives back. Slide 1. No one looks at phones. Slide 2. Someone reaches for a pen, remembers they can listen first. Slide 3. A question arrives from the far end, the surgical kind. Amara answers with a drawing on the whiteboard boxes. Arrows. A note that says asterisk, asterisk, offline. First asterisk, asterisk, then erases it, with the same respect she would give to putting it in an archive. Halfway through, the door opens quietly, and a late member slips in with that blend of apology and entitlement, common to people whose calendars never say no. He stops when he sees the slide, then stops performing. Slide 9. Lands the way design hopes. Visible comprehension. A head tilt, that means times O asterisk, a hand flattening on paper like a body, remembering a new balance. Questions follow. Not traps, but checks. Localization partners, teacher training, pipelines, content safety classifiers. Zoe catches 2, Marcus 1. Amara takes the rest with sentences that look like ladders people can climb. They arrive at the cost model. Numbers step politely into the room. Someone says your margins without animus. Diane answers with a sentence about ethics as scalability, then yields the air back to data. Final slide. The room holds its breath and then chooses not to applaud respectful restraint. James Chen folds his hands. 2 more questions. He says, 1. What's your failure mode? 2. What will you refuse to do even if it would make the chart go up? Amara thinks openly for 2 beats, letting the consideration be part of the answer. Failure mode. We build for ourselves, not for classrooms that don't look like our offices. Guardrail. We don't sell attention as a business model. We sell outcomes, and we publish the math. A pause. The useful kind. Thank you. Chen says, "We'll confer briefly. Would you wait across the hall?" Back in the beige prep room, the air is the wrong temperature, and the water is still local. No one speaks for a moment, which is partly superstition and partly respect for the space the board needs. Marcus stands, sits, decides to stand. Zoe texts a single penguin and a single ladder to the team. Diane watches the second hand on her watch, move like a pen trying to remember cursive. 5 minutes. 7. 10. The door opens. The assistant's smile is the same shape, which is not a tell. They'll see you again now. They return to the room that smells like wood and clean arguments. James Chen stands. The others tilt their chairs in a way that reads as yes even before he speaks. Miss Jenkins, he says, "Thank you. We would like to proceed." The sentence lands without trumpets and fills the room just the same. Numbers follow term. Tranches. A line item for accessibility features that is larger than expected. A paragraph about public alignment. A clause about boring. We'll issue our statement after council aligns. Sunsi's lawyer says, looking at Diane and then at the window. This afternoon, not morning. Afternoon is better, Diane says, already rewriting 2 commas into a semicolon in her head. Amara signs a preliminary sheet that is not a contract, but behaves like one. Marcus signs where fathers do. Zoe initials where operations must. Diane witnesses with a date that pleased the clock. They do not cheer. They put things away in a way that will be easy to inventory later. Outside, the bay keeps being itself. Inside, the little project moves forward a square on the board. In the elevator down, they are quiet for 3 floors. Then Zoe whispers, "Boring wins," because someone had to say it. Amara leans against the mirrored wall for a breath and sees 4 versions of them tired, taller, holding pens that are still warm. Her phone buzzes. A single line from Agent Rodriguez, asterisk, asterisk, intake complete. "We're moving, asterisk, asterisk." She types back, asterisk, asterisk. Likewise, asterisk, asterisk. Then slides the device into her pocket. Like a small, well-earned exhale, the doors open onto a lobby built for echo. They step into a day that has decided, at least for this hour, to cooperate. At its heart, this story reminds us that silence in the face of injustice only feeds the cycle. Each moment where Amara and those around her chose to speak, to document, and to stand firm even in the most procedural, boring, and unseen ways became a small brick in a much larger wall of integrity. Life often tempts us to look away, to tell ourselves it's easier to not get involved. But as the old saying goes, asterisk, evil triumphs when good people do nothing. Asterisk. The courage here wasn't in fiery speeches or grand gestures. It was in the decision to stay steady, to insist on fairness, even when the process felt slow and draining. That is a lesson all of us, especially in later chapters of our lives, can carry. Your voice and your presence matter more than you know, and quiet persistence can outlast even the loudest storm. This story also highlights how damaging toxic patterns, unchecked power, or subtle prejudice can be not only to those targeted, but to the health of a community. The moment we break the silence, we give others permission to step forward too. The path to justice is rarely fast, but slow and steady wins the race, and dignity carried with patience often speaks louder than anger. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What part of this story resonated with you the most? Have you faced moments where speaking up felt risky, but silence felt worse? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story spoke to you, tap like to support and subscribe so you won't miss more powerful journeys like this one. Wishing you peace, resilience, and a steady light to guide you through the noise.